So, Kalispera, Thessaloniki. Hello, everybody. My name is Jamie. Yes, thank you. Just to clarify, I do speak a little bit of Greek, so if you think my presentation is really bad, don't say it around me in Greek, because I might be able to understand you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Jamie Coleman. Today, I'm talking about the magic of automation and everyday chores. So a little bit about myself. I like to walk around a lot, so I'm going to try my hardest to stay here. A little bit about myself. I'm a developer advocate for Sonatype. My experience, I started my career on mainframes, worked on WebSphere for a while, JVMs, containers, things like that at IBM, and I left about a year ago and joined Sonatype. So hands up, anyone here heard of Sonatype? Not SonarCube, not SonarSource, Sonatype. Okay, not many of you. All right. So you probably use one of our things that we do every day for the community. Hands up if you use Maven Central. Anyone here, Maven Central? Yeah, cool. So we have run Maven Central for the community for about 10, 12 years. It's something we do. We don't make any money from it, but we do it for the community. As you can imagine, a lot of people use Maven Central. This runs on AWS, so it costs us a lot of money. But that's just one of the things Sonatype do for the community. You may have heard of Nexus Repo and some of the other products we do. We were actually the first artifact repository in the world. But I'm not going to be talking about Sonatype today. I'm going to be talking about AI, essentially, because it seems to be a hot topic, and it's something I'm quite interested in. So let's get started. The AI revolution. AI is a big buzzword now. Everyone's getting excited about it. But AI is not a new thing. AI has been around a very, very long time. The Turing machine, the Turing test. Alan Turing, if you've heard of him, he's kind of like the father of computing. He didn't invent the first computer, but he built the first computer. That came around in World War II. The Allied forces were desperate to essentially decrypt the German Enigma code, so the British government poured huge amounts of money essentially into building this machine. So that was that was before 1950, but he knew AI was going to become a thing back then, and he created the Turing test. So in 1950, we knew AI was going to be a thing. And then the logic theorist came along. That was in 1955. That was essentially the first artificial intelligence program in the world. So again, AI has been around a very, very long time. The first chatbot in the world to use AI, 1966. Wabot was a AI robot, so we've been building robots with AI since 1972. IBM Deep Blue was one of the first kind of big AI machines that we have. The Roomba, I have one of these. Me and my wife, we have a husky that produces lots of hair. So this changed our life essentially, but it was the first home piece of hardware to have AI included inside. IBM Watson, you've probably heard of that. Eugene Goodman, again, another AI thing. I'll talk about that later. And of course, ChatGPT, which came out in 2022. So the Turing test, what is the Turing test? Well, essentially, it is a test to see how clever or smart a AI system is, a computer is. And essentially, what it is there to do is to beat the Turing test is you have to basically have some humans look at an AI program and not be able to distinguish if it's human or not. So that's kind of the main thing, but that's what the Turing test tries to evaluate. IBM Deep Blue was created in 1985. This was an attempt to essentially beat the best chess player in the world with a computer. So IBM built this machine. IBM Deep Blue cost them millions and millions of pounds. And at first, it lost. It lost by 2-4, but IBM being IBM was not going to admit defeat. So in 1997, once again, they went to challenge the best chess player in the world. And over 6 matches over several days, 2 to IBM, 1 to the champion, and 3 draws. So this was really the first time an AI machine was outperforming some of the smartest humans on the planet. Now, IBM Watson. Now, in my opinion, this was really the first AI system that we could use as engineers. AI had been around in different forms for many years, But this really kind of changed the game. So basically, I don't know if you ever saw, there was a Jeopardy thing where they basically played IBM Watson against Jeopardy, and it beat some of the best quiz people in the world to win a first prize of $1 million. Probably cost that just to run the electricity for this machine because it was so big. But again, this was another point in AI history where AI was getting more momentum. Eugene Goodman, this is probably the most advanced chatbot of its time. It was developed in Russia in 2001. It was actually portrayed as a 13-year-old Ukrainian boy. So that was kind of the personality that was given to it. A bit ironic nowadays. But essentially, it was portrayed as a 13-year-old Ukrainian boy. Why? So if it made mistakes, if it sounded a bit stupid, you could forgive it because it was only a young boy as opposed to trying to impersonate an adult. And in 2005 and 2008, it finished second in the Turing test competitions. And basically, in 2014, on the 60th anniversary of Turing's death, it then convinced 33% of the judges that it was a human. So this really was kind of the first thing in the world that kind of passed the Turing test. It passed it to the point that 33% of the people on that panel had no idea that it was a machine. But my opinion is, basically AI has become popular very, very recently. And the reason for that is because anyone can use it. My mom, it takes her 10 minutes to write her name on a computer keyboard, she can now go onto a website and use AI. I mean, we had this power before. Maybe not quite as powerful. I mean, IBM Watson had this power, but we had to use APIs. We had to use engineering skills to connect and utilize this AI system. Whereas nowadays, we just have to go to a web browser. And in my opinion, that is what has made the difference for this to become very, very popular. Now, some of the things that we have around, this is Adobe's generative fill. This is amazing. If you've ever tried this, give it a go. You can feed it a picture and tell it to do whatever you want, and it'll go and change the picture very, very convincingly, let's say, to whatever you want. So this is very, very clever. Now, of course, back to ChatGPT. This was really what I think made AI popular in the last few years. This is one of the biggest growing programs in history. It was released in 2022 by OpenAI. In January, it became, like I said, the fastest growing computer application in history. Many chatbot systems are based on this, like Google's Bard, etc. But it's got a bit of dark side because, as you can imagine, a lot of these AI models need to be trained, same with ChatGPT. So in order to train it against stuff like sexual abuse, violence, racism, etc., they had to outsource that because that is a big job. Now, what did they do? They outsourced that to a company in Kenya where they were paying workers $2 an hour. Imagine these workers, what they had to look at every day, some of the evil things that people were asking it, and they had to train it. And this was so bad that these people that were training it, they described their experience as torture. So we take these things for granted. A lot of us have probably tried ChatGPT. Some of us may use it in our work. But you've got to remember, behind these things, they all need to be trained. These learning models, they need to be trained. And unfortunately, humanity likes to ask AI and chatbots, etc., some evil stuff that we do have to train. So just bear that in mind. So uses for AI and developers. Now, again, AI is changing rapidly, and it's becoming a lot more usable for our jobs. So Sonatype basically create every year a report called the State of the Software Supply Chain. And essentially, this report this year focuses at the end, it has different chapters. The last chapter is focusing on AI, what our customers are doing, what the industry is doing with it, and what we need to look out for in the future. So do check out this report if you're interested in AI. But AI is amazing. From helping junior developers benefit from having AI to answer quick questions. So you can have senior developers train AI to help the junior developers, rather than have a senior developer have to train each individual junior developer. They can just train an AI system, which can help all of them, saving us a lot of time. But there's lots of different things we can use. Lots of different tools we can use with AI nowadays. Code snippets is a great one. It basically creates error-prone and performance-optimized code, so you can basically try and weed out any errors and stuff you have. GitHub Copilot, which I think is now Microsoft Copilot, which weirdly enough got installed on my laptop without me asking it the other day. That is actually really great. But the only problem is you've got to remember that all the data that is being fed into these AI systems is public data from around the world. I think it was Venkat, I saw him post a tweet today that basically said, it's ironic because we complain about AI systems giving us bad code. The AI systems are trained on our code, so it's ironic that we're moaning about the AI systems where really the AI has learned from us. So it's kind of our fault that the AI is performing the way it is. Regex is something I hate doing. I've always hated regex, but there are some great tools using AI that can optimize regular expressions and basically convert the English language into regex, because just doing regex is annoying as it is. And Mintify is really, really great, essentially understanding complicated functions, and it can generate documentation for you. Nobody likes writing documentation. It's one of those things we all have to do. But there are tools out there like Mintify, which essentially will generate the documentation for you. Yes, you probably have to go over it and make sure it hasn't made any stupid mistakes, but at the end of the day, it's helping us automate processes that are basically not helping us innovate. We want to innovate, we want to create new software for the world, and using AI to automate those things is, I think, pivotal nowadays. So should we be worried? Should we be worried about AI taking our jobs? Should I be worried? So what I've done here is I've asked ChatGPT to generate me 2 sets of slides. One, the advantages of AI, and one, the disadvantages. And I want you to have a look. It's a very easy bias, but there is bias here. And I asked it exactly the same question, and I want to see if you can figure out what the bias is. So again, these aren't my slides. The next 10 slides are all from ChatGPT. So the first question I asked is, what are the advantages of AI? So give me some points, some slides on that. So it basically said AI technology can automate repetitive tasks, of course, like I mentioned. Processes can be streamlined and optimized with AI, and AI-powered systems can work 24/7. We cannot do that. We have to go to sleep, we have to eat, we have to drink, but AI can. It doesn't need to do any of those things. So increased efficiency is one. Enhanced decision-making, so AI algorithms can analyze vast amounts of data very, very quickly, which humans can't. Machine learning algorithms can identify patterns and trends that humans might miss. And AI can help businesses make data-driven decisions. Yes, we can do that, but AI can improve that. Improve customer experience, so AI-powered chatbots and virtual assistants. Yes, sometimes they are annoying. And top tip, if you're ever on a phone to a company and a robot is talking to you, and you don't want to talk to the robot, I figured this out the other day, you can just say, I want to speak to a human, and it will put you straight in contact with a human. So top tip for life there, everybody. If you don't want to talk to a robot on the phone, just turn around and go, I want to talk to a human, and then it'll just go, connecting you to a human. So just to clarify, that might help you in future. But they can help with mundane tasks like getting your balance and things like that. We don't need a human to do that. Recommendation systems based on AI can offer tailored products for us. And natural language processing enables AI to understand and respond to customer queries quite quickly. In terms of cost saving, AI, it can help businesses reduce costs by automating processes, like I mentioned, not having to spend hours writing documentation. We can just go, AI, produce documentation for this. Predictive maintenance, so we can predict when we might need to do some maintenance to the system. We can predict when a new update might be coming out. AI can predict, for example, when there might be a load of extra load on the system because it might be Christmas or something like that. And loads of other things. Innovation and creativity, so AI enables researchers and scientists to tackle complex problems. AI can generate new ideas. So as you can see, it generated these slides for me today. And I love using AI for the image generation. That's probably one of the main things that I love playing around with. And creative industries such as art and music. So I don't know if you've ever seen, but people have now started to use AI to create music and create art and things like that. Improve safety. This might be a bit weird if you've watched the Terminator films, but yes, it can improve safety. So AI can be employed in various industries to reduce risk and improve safety. Autonomous vehicles, for example, powered by AI, can help reduce human error on the roads. And AI-based surveillance can help detect anomalies. So if we look at like London, for example, it's the most watched city in the world. I think per square, I'm going to say kilometre rather than mile, per square kilometre there's something like 400 cameras everywhere that are run by the government. So they are watching everything. But imagine trying to employ 400 people for every square kilometre in London. I mean, you're talking about like millions of people to watch these cameras. So using AI and giving it the right criteria to track the right people that might be doing something bad is really, really good, and it can improve safety of our country. Personalized experiences, so like I mentioned, AI can deliver customized, personalized experience. It might know what I like. It might know that I'm interested in certain technology. So next time it will say, okay, this new version of this is coming out. We know you like these things, so maybe this is a good choice. Virtual assistants, like I mentioned before, can learn from previous conversations. And AI-powered marketing campaigns can target specific audiences with personalized messages. So, and again, still on AI-generated slides here. So the conclusion ChatGPT came up with was artificial intelligence offers numerous advantages across various industries, from increased efficiency, enhanced developer decision-making, to improve customer experiences, etc. And embracing AI technologies can unlock new opportunities and drive innovation in the new digital age. So that was what ChatGPT gave me for advantages. Now, I asked it the same question. All I did was change the word advantages to disadvantages. So, job displacement, first of all, probably something we're all concerned about in our industry. AI and automation technologies have the potential to replace human workers in various industries. The automation of tasks previously performed by humans could lead to job losses. So that's the first one. Lack of human judgment and intuition. So AI systems, they're not sympathetic to humans. They are basically fed with data. So that is how they work. So AI systems lack the ability to have human-level judgment. They don't have empathy and things like that. And they are limited to information and patterns. Privacy concerns. We've seen this with Copilot, if you've read in the news before. Copilot started reading data from private repos. I don't know where that ended up in the end, but that is a privacy concern. So AI basically often requires such huge amounts of data to become smart, it can then go and collect personalized data, which it shouldn't. And dependence on technology. So we're all a bit dependent on technology these days, but over-reliance on AI technology can make societies vulnerable to system failures. I mean, imagine if we were all having self-driving cars with AI in them, and then the AI decided to break. I mean, what? We can't go to work, we can't drive around the city. So relying on AI and technology can lead to problems for society if that stuff breaks. Like I said, ethical considerations. So AI algorithms can amplify existing biases, which I want you to see if you can spot here. And this bias can lead to unfair and discriminatory outcomes in areas like hiring, loan approvals, and criminal justice. Lack of emotional intelligence, so AI systems cannot understand or emphasize with humans' emotions or social cues. It doesn't know what's acceptable. It doesn't know if it says this, if it's rude or if it's not rude. It just knows that that is the kind of fact, and it's going to tell you that based on the data it's been fed. And this limitation makes it challenging for AI to handle sensitive or complex situations. And like I mentioned, unemployment and income equality. As AI automates certain jobs, and it will, it can exacerbate income equality and create a divide between those who benefit from AI and those who do not. Pay attention to this point here. I'll talk about it later. That's not the bias part, but I just want you to pay attention to that point there. Displaced workers may struggle to find other employment opportunities because AI is just automating everything. Again, lack of accountability. This is a weird one for me. So determining responsibility and accountability for AI decisions. I'm a car manufacturer. I've used AI in my autonomous cars. If my car kills someone, do I blame the AI? Do I blame the driver? Well, I'm not really a driver, the car's driving itself, but do I blame the person who's in the driving seat? Do I blame the weather? Like, who takes responsibility to that? You can't send AI to prison. So that's where it's kind of lack of accountability comes in. So conclusion, while AI offers numerous benefits, it is important to be aware of its social disadvantages. Addressing these challenges requires careful consideration, regulation, and ethical frameworks. Now, Hands up, who have spotted the difference between the advantages and disadvantages? Very, very simple. One person. Okay, I will tell you, as no one's put their hand up. As you can see, I asked it exactly the same question. Why did it give me 3 points for advantages and only 2 points for disadvantages? I asked it exactly the same question, and it gave me more reasons to love AI than to hate AI. So as you can see here, there is bias already. Now, should we as engineers be worried about AI? Or should I be worried? Maybe a little bit, because it did quite a good job at generating those slides, to be honest. But should you all be worried? I would say yes and no. Probably not for the reasons you're thinking about. Now, we think of AI as becoming this advanced machine, this advanced robot that's going to take over the world. But realistically, and I love this, there's a guy from GitHub that created this. He's like, basically, to replace programmers with AI, project managers need to accurately describe what they want. So don't worry, I think we're all safe there for a while. Don't worry, that's all good. But what I want you to take away from here is, I don't think AI is going to replace us. And what you all need to bear in mind is our job as software engineers, as software developers, is to automate the rest of the world out of a job. That is what we do. Every day, we are building code, we are automating jobs, we are automating tasks. And as we get more advanced in what we do, we're eventually automating more and more people out of a job. And I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but in my opinion, we are probably going to be the last people on Earth still working. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, personally. We'll probably be way dead before then, so don't worry about it for our sakes. But we will probably be the last people on the planet still working. So don't worry about AI taking our jobs. One thing I would say to take away is someone who knows how to use AI in our industry might take your job. AI, I don't think, is going to replace our jobs. And like I said, we can't moan because our job is to automate everyone else out of a job, essentially. Might take 100 years, might take 500 years, might take 1,000 years, but that is what we do. But I don't think AI is going to take our jobs, but someone who knows how to use it very well and improve performance and efficiency in their job might. So that's the only thing I wanted you to take away from there. Now, AI can be used for bad things. It can be used for good things. Sonatype, we're in the software supply chain security business. So you all love downloading open source code, and our job is to make sure that code is not bad. So the bad guys have changed. Previously, they were attacking us for money, whereas now that's changed. They are basically attacking us to attack our infrastructure, our countries. They're not doing it for personal gain. They're doing it to fight countries. So they might take down our national infrastructure. They might create supply chain issues with our medicine and our food. So we have to be very, very careful. And they don't just do this. Like, they might get into our systems, but they don't just take our systems down straight away. They wait for the opportune moment. There could be a big festival on. I know you guys all have Ohi Day here. So they could wait, for example, for a day like that to cause as much havoc as possible. They may already be infiltrated into your systems. So Maven Central, like I said, it's been around for a while. We have a lot of data from Maven Central, which is great because obviously we run it. But we were quite lucky in the Java space because we made some decisions very, very early on, which made Maven Central much, much more secure than any of the other language repositories. So first of all, you have to own the domain. So I have to, for example, org.apache.something, I have to own that domain if I can submit something or upload something to Maven Central. Whereas the Python repository, the JavaScript repository, they don't have that protection. I remember when, I think it was a couple of years ago, when all the different repositories, there was a massive attack on all the open source repositories around the world. And the guy who runs our repository system, he got asked by some of the other leaders of the other repositories, oh, how's this affecting you? And we're like, we haven't been affected at all. And that is because we made this decision quite a long time ago to make sure you have to prove that you own that domain. So there's lots of different things that can happen. So dependency confusion, for example, they might put a very, very long version number at the end. And if you're saying, I want to download the latest, you're going to get this version. Same, they might do typo squatting. So log J4 instead of log for J, for example. Or you can see here, they spelled Apache wrong. Now, Maven Central will protect us against these. But it doesn't protect us against this because I could go and own that domain. I could go and create that domain, say I own it, and then put stuff up there. But again, we're a lot better off than Python and a lot of the other languages because they didn't have that protection. They didn't set that up at the beginning because it's annoying. It's hard to administer. But we're now thankful we did because we're not seeing as many problems as some of the other ecosystems. But everything is quite hard with vulnerabilities. So it's like, does a new package contain vulnerabilities? How do you even know that? I mean, how do you stop the code being published in the first place? Does the new package contain active malware? And how do you even figure all this stuff out? So it's not easy. But Maven Central is updating. So we use AI in Sonatype quite a lot. First of all, anything that goes up to Maven Central is scanned by our industrial scanners. They have AI in them. They'll be scanned, and then if the AI is unsure, then it'll go to our security research team. There's about 100 of them, and these people know how to find bad stuff. This is what they do all day, every day. We don't stop vulnerabilities going up. We only stop malware. People ask me this, why don't you stop vulnerabilities going up? Well, most vulnerabilities in Java are mistakes. They're coding mistakes that lead to vulnerabilities being created. But with Java, again, you have to hit that line of code for that vulnerability to be used. So these libraries have lots of lines of code, obviously. So it's not as bad. And also, people rely on Maven Central on their builds. We can't just take down vulnerable versions because it would break people's builds around the world. Maven Central is also evolving. So if you go to the new Maven Central, we've changed the look of it recently. I mean, the old one looked like it was built in the 90s, so I'm quite glad they've changed it. But we're adding stuff like to give you a bit of information about any vulnerabilities that are there in the version or the dependency you're downloading. Now, unfortunately, we're all a bit slow in regards to stopping vulnerabilities and bad people. So again, we have a lot of data from Maven Central. This is Log4j. Everyone probably remembers Log4j. It's probably the worst vulnerability, I think, in Java's history, if not the whole world. Now, this was in May, so about 6 months after the vulnerability came out. And you're looking at that time, 51 million downloads of that vulnerable version had happened, right? 33% of all downloads 6 months later, and this is a 24-hour timeline. So that much later, in the last 24 hours in May, 33% of downloads of the worst vulnerability in Java's history was still downloaded. Guess what it was last week? 272 million people have downloaded the worst vulnerability. Still, in the last 24 hours, 21% of developers have downloaded the worst vulnerable open source dependency in history. So as developers, we're not very quick at doing these things and catching up. But it's not going to stop us from using open source. Open source is absolutely amazing. Today, by our standards, 90% of the applications we ship is not our code. It is code we have downloaded, open source dependencies we have downloaded. And imagine us having to write all those dependencies, all those libraries we use and we take for granted. So open source is amazing. We're not going to stop using it anytime soon. But it's getting really, really difficult to manage this. I mean, you take an average Java project, for example. You have 150 dependencies. You have 10 releases per year. That's 1,500 updates we have to consider. So not only vulnerabilities, but you know what companies are like. They like changing licenses without us knowing. And we could download the latest version of a dependency, and we could be breaking the law. So it's a lot of things to think about. And you've probably seen this before, but essentially, this hits home quite well because we don't know who's working on a lot of these open source dependencies. We don't know where they're being created. They could be bad people. They could just be pretending to be nice. We all start using a library, and after 6 months, they turn around and go, okay, I'm going to now put a vulnerability in and attack all these people that have downloaded it. And then not only do we have those dependencies, this is Spring Boot, Spring Framework, for example. We download the Spring Web dependency, and then that downloads these, and downloads these. So there's a lot of things we have to think about with dependencies that it's getting more and more confusing these days. And the modern face of cybercrime, the perception is, it's really difficult to be a hacker. There's really detailed plots, really high tech behind it, elaborate schemes. But in the reality, these people that are attacking us using AI to attack us, they are basically it's very simple programs, very effective. And to the point, there are websites which you can go and buy malware. So it's quite scary how easy it is to become someone who just wants to take advantage of our applications and our innovation. So just to hit home a little bit more of why you need to think about cybercrime and AI and the bad people using AI in cybercrime. Bear in mind, these statistics were before ChatGPT and AI had a massive rise in popularity. So in 2016, cybercrime surpassed the drug trade. So cybercrime was making $450 billion a year. That's around 14,000 US dollars a second, and that is equivalent to 50 of the world's biggest nuclear aircraft carriers. That was in 2016. Do you think it's gone up lately? Yes, it has, and it has gone up astronomically. It's now 6 trillion US dollars a year. That's 200,000 US dollars a second, and that is equivalent to 620 of the world's biggest nuclear aircraft carriers. Bear in mind, I think the United States has 10 of these. So if you put all the cyber criminals together, they could probably destroy the United States in terms of their military might. And if in 2022, I put cybercrime as the GDP of a country, it would be the third largest country on the planet in terms of GDP. And in my opinion, this guy here, he wouldn't have bothered in the drug trade. Why would he? Everyone that's in the drug trade gets caught. But cyber criminals, they don't get caught very often. He'd probably still be alive rather than being shot in the head on a roof. So my opinion is we need to be very, very careful because cybercrime is growing and growing, especially with, everything being connected together. And AI is making this more and more difficult for us. So if you take, for example, in 2006, you had around 45 days before a vulnerability was announced, before the bad people attacked you. And what we realized with Log4j is that was down to about 1 day. It was 1 day after Log4j was announced that everybody got hacked. And it was a bit annoying for all of us. I remember I was in the office and everyone started running around panicking for a week or so. We were quite lucky in WebSphere at the time because we didn't actually use Log4j in any of our libraries, but our customers were on the phone every other second trying to ask us how we can fix their problems. But it's the time that it takes now for people to attack us has reduced dramatically. And AI is in, open source code is in everything. It's in medicine, insulin pumps in the EU are allowed to have open source code in them. Aircraft are allowed to, self-driving cars, trains are allowed to have open source code. So as great as open source code is, we've got to be very, very careful that we make sure that we're not letting the bad people use AI to take advantage of basically our caring and sharing nature. Now, what do we use AI for in Sonatype? So again, there's some information from the software supply chain report here. The main thing here is there is 135% increased usage and adoption of AI in businesses nowadays. So AI is increasing dramatically in what we use it for, whether it's security, whether it's performance, whether it's efficiency. So it's growing dramatically. And my point to you guys is to kind of think that we need to take advantage of this because if we don't, someone else will, whether it's a bad guy or someone that's trying to apply for a similar job. Now, this is kind of the Sonatype platform. Really, the only thing that I want you to focus on here is repository, which uses AI. So repository is a piece of software that essentially sits between a public repo, like Maven Central, and an internal repo, like Nexus Pro or Artifactory. And what it does, it uses AI and machine learning algorithms to scan everything. And we find a lot of bad stuff. Again, not so bad in Java, but we find a lot of bad stuff. And we wouldn't be able to do this without using AI and machine learning because it's the amount of stuff that comes through that we've not seen before is just huge. Now, if the AI is not sure, again, we have a big research team which it gets sent to. They go and have a look through it, and they will then go and retrain their AI to say, yes, this is good or this is bad, things like that. As of today, Sonatype, as a company on its own, have identified 245,000 new bad packages around the world. Most of them are NPM and Python. So again, Java, we're quite lucky because of some of the decisions Maven and Maven Central made at the beginning. But again, we need to utilize AI where we can to fight the bad guys. So yeah, this is kind of how firewall works. You bring something down, it gets scanned. If we've seen it before, okay, you can use it. Your developers can use it. If we're not sure, our security research team will look at it, say, okay. If not, it goes into there and says, like, guys, I wouldn't use this. This is a really bad vulnerability. And again, we can use AI in lots of different ways. We can scan our current projects to see what vulnerabilities are in there and things like that. So utilizing AI in any way, shape, or form is instrumental in helping protect ourselves and helping us innovate in the future. So kind of a summary to finish off, and I've got a little ask for you, but I'll get there in a second. But my conclusion here really is AI is not going to take most of our jobs anytime soon, especially as developers. Current AI technology has been around for a long time. This is not new. I honestly believe it's only overhyped now is because my mom can use it. Now, that's what I don't know if you've seen it. Ryan Reynolds created a TV advert for a mobile network in the United States using ChatGPT. And it was really, really good. But it's things like that that have made AI popular now. You can use it to be a lot more productive. I use it for loads of different things. One of the greatest things I found that I use it for is Zoom calls. You can use AI and it will listen, it will summarize everything, create nice little points, and it even knows when you're starting to talk like shit about something. So if me and my boss start talking about cars, I've checked through the notes. It knows that we don't work in a car industry, so it just doesn't include those notes. And this, for me, saved me a lot of times. Every call I go into, I have a beautiful summarization of what I'm doing. So again, simple ways you can use AI. AI can be used for evil. Like I said, people are now using AI to generate malware. They're using AI to generate vulnerable code. So the only way we can stop bad people using AI is to essentially fight it with good AI. So using systems that use AI that could be smarter than the bad people. Now, I have a load of free t-shirts to give away, and I want to take some Greek olive oil back home with me. So I would be very, very happy if you could take some of those t-shirts, but there's a questionnaire which will take you 30 seconds to fill out. At the end, it will give you a code, because I only have a few of these t-shirts. At the end, it will give you a code, and if you come up here afterwards and give me the code, I will give you a t-shirt. It's very, very simple. Just kind of want to get your opinion of how much you know about Sonatype and what we do and things like that. But I have some t-shirts here, so when I've finished, do come up and come and collect them. Honestly, it's like 8 questions. It'll take you 30 seconds to do. There's some useful links here about some of the things I talked about today. For example, the history of AI, the history of the software supply chain attacks. So Sonatype being in this business for a long time, we basically have a good list and a good website which links every attack that's happened throughout probably the last 30, 40 years. So do go check that out. The state of the software supply chain report basically talks about the state of open source these days. And it's not just Java, but being Maven Central running that, we do have a lot of data on that. If you want to find out how bad developers still are at downloading Log4j, we have a website for that, which tells you what's happened over the last 24 hours. There is lots of different websites to find tools for developers. If you want to try out a Photoshop's generative fill, honestly, do try that out. It's awesome. And again, there's AI tools to help you build faster for developers. So do get in touch with Sonatype. We are very social. We're on all the different social media platforms. And there's some more cool stuff here if you're interested. I've got these two twice, I don't know why. There's a series that I created on Foojay, which is really, really good, that explains the current state of things, legislation that's coming, because you're probably not all aware, but in the EU, there's legislation coming, which is going to change the open source landscape for the future in a good or bad way, I don't know. Make sure you check that out. It's called the Cyber Resiliency Act. But if you don't know about it, please go check it out because it will probably impact your job in the next year. So do check all that out. And I hope you enjoyed my talk. I hope you enjoyed the conference. Thank you for listening to me. And feel free to come and get a t-shirt once you filled out that form. Thank you, everybody. Okay, I'm going to very quickly take a picture just so my boss doesn't think that I've come to Greece on a holiday. And if you have any questions, you can ask me them now, or you can come after the talk. Any questions from anybody? If not, yeah. Oh, yes, right at the back. Okay, this is going to be fun. Go on, shout. I can't hear you. I'm so sorry. It's all right. Do you want to come here afterwards? I've only got 39 seconds left, so it's fine. Yeah, come and ask the question afterwards. Sorry, you're just too far away. Sorry. Anyway, thanks again, everybody. Enjoy the conference.